Good afternoon and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. It's our Leeds United versus Preston match review, plus talking about a lot of things, the bigger picture and whatnot. I'm Stephen Brown, and joining me as ever is Jason Booker. Good afternoon, Jason.
Hi, mate. Little bit croaky, I'm sorry.
Yeah, very croaky. But he's still here, still putting in a shift. Nige, good afternoon, mate. Guys, get your comments in. Please do remember to like the video. If you're watching along on YouTube, make sure you give us a subscribe as well. And if you're following on X, please do also retweet, get your comments in as well. Now, not the best result for Leeds United yesterday. So much to discuss. I just want to kind of get my take, my hot take, or whatever you want to call it. I just want to say I'm glad I didn't do the review yesterday. Having slept on it, having thought about it, and actually my initial reaction, because full disclosure, I missed the second half. When I found out it was 1-1, I was happy. I was delighted. We got a point out of that, I've got to say. And I think today I actually feel absolutely fine that we've come away with a point, all things considered, which we will cover. Jason, kind of 24 hours on, how are you feeling about a point at Preston? I mean, obviously we talked earlier in the week after a cracking win against Middlesbrough, where we thought if we didn't get 3 points at Preston, that's not ideal. That's not what you should be after, really. But all things considered, how do you feel about that 24 hours on from the game?
Yeah, I tend to kind of feel similar to you in that I think the reaction directly after the game and then the way that I feel about it 24 hours after is a bit different. This wasn't Blackburn away, in which we were probably good value for taking an L. I think that was fair. If we'd have managed to get something from the game, then fair enough. But it felt like a 1-0 win was probably pretty deserved on the day. This wasn't that. We created, I think, still some pretty good chances. And I know we'll get into the individuals. We'll talk about Bamford. We'll talk about Joseph. Dan James, it's the bar. We'll get on to the 100% red card. I mean, I've seen some fans saying that wouldn't have made a difference. Playing 10 men for 65 minutes wouldn't make a difference. Like, what planet are you on? So yeah, that plays part in the game. Brendan Aaronson's chance, which he should have took away. You forget, it's easy to forget about all these because we didn't score until the 91st minute or whatever. Like, these are still not failings on the manager or the system or the tactic or the style, individual mistakes. And, I think there's a bit of a mentality issue going away from home. I definitely think it's a mentality problem rather than a tactical one. Or maybe it's even down to some of the sides that we're playing. I saw another content creator make a really, really good point about the way that we look against a side that we feel there's a bit of jeopardy within it, a little bit of a threat to the result. Whereas then when we turn up against a Preston away, we kind of think they step up their level and we don't quite match it in terms of intensity. And again, that's not instructional. That's down to the players, because once we go down, we find it. And we then start to huff and puff. So I feel overall, mate, that Preston away has always been a bit of a banana skin for us. It's not the end of the world. I said that I would say this if we ended up not winning the game on the review the other day. Because, we do really need to be going to these grounds and winning. But at the end of the day, given the set of circumstances, the way that we found ourselves with them, it's not that bad. And still, even though our away record is bad and all the rest of it, we still find ourselves with the 8th best away record in the division, 5 points off the best away record in the division. And again, I'm still going to count them 2 points at Sunderland, because for me, that wasn't a tactical thing. That was a last-second error from Ilan. That leaves us 3 points off the best away record in the division. And that's how I'm choosing to see it. I don't think it's as bad as what some people are trying to kind of dramatize it as, personally.
No, and what I'll get into later, I've got a graphic that I'm going to pull up that I've pinched off The Athletic this morning from our friend of the show, Nancy Froston. And we will cover this a little bit more, but just to kind of give you the headline of it is, when Leeds have played non-3 p.m. weekend kickoffs, that's where we're struggling. These 12:30 kickoffs, you can look at this. I tell you what, why wait? Let's just get into it now because we're on it. But if we look at this graphic here, So this is our weekend kickoffs. Now, you'll notice if you look at the kickoff times, 3 o'clock kickoffs, we ain't got a problem. But if you look at the non-3 p.m. kickoff times of the weekend, this is where we seem to be struggling. 12:30, obviously, particularly, and that 1:30 against Blackburn as well. So it's not even necessarily the away form, but it's the kind of away form at a certain time of day.
That can't mean anything. It can't.
It's just weird though, isn't it? It's just
it's a mental. It's a mental coincidence. I will say
right.
that, but that can't mean anything.
It's bizarre, isn't it?
But yeah.
You look at, because reading it, I was trying to think, what is going on. Obviously this away form is a problem, or it's it's not ideal. And yeah, Nancy put this, and I saw that graphic. I was like, God. And you look at these non-3 p.m. weekend kickoff times, and we just seem to be struggling with it. And I mean, just getting to the game yesterday, what frustrated me at the time, what I just found so annoying, was a start to the game. Those opening 20 minutes, it was just beyond aggravating. I really just, the sloppiness, the slowness, the lack of tempo, and we've seen that in these type of games again and again and again. 12:30 kickoffs obviously seem to be a massive problem, and that's for me where we just put ourselves into a situation where we're losing, we're behind, it's an uphill battle. You start getting into all this thing with, the ref and the players and the slowing the game down. And yes, we create chances second half. Yes, we could have probably won it on another day. But for me, it's like, try not to get yourself in that situation. We need to really shake ourselves up at the start of these games, because it's just so frustrating. As I've seen a comment come in, and we will get to your comments about these opening 20 minutes. And Farke has said himself, the started so slowly. And for me, I know Gavin's saying about Farke, it's not on Farke for me yesterday outside of team selection, where I think there could have been a couple of things done differently. But in terms of the players turning up and subs, players turning up and being at it 100% and being sharp. I mean, some of the wayward passing, the decision making, we're going to get to Gnonto, for me, shouldn't be starting games at the minute. That's for me where the game is almost lost, and I feel like we've seen this time and time again, these opening periods of these types of games, Jason, where I don't know if our tactic is to kind of slow things down to the point where we settle the crowds and all this kind of thing, and we try and take the sting out of it, all that kind of thing. But yeah, that for me is just, don't give yourself that uphill battle.
The difference is, away from home, the intensity of the opponent is another.
They look bang up
times, yeah, it's a 4 or 5 times the intensity that it is at Ellen Road. Because at Ellen Road, they come and they're expecting to be under the cushion, they sit back. And if they don't, we work with an intensity that then hits them on the counter, and we see a game like the Middlesbrough game. Most teams that come to Ellen Road and try and do that against us get picked off. Whereas away from home, it's like we're kind of caught in this slow build-up, and we can't deal with then the intensity. And I do think there is something to be said to this argument of our defence is not as good as what we think it is. And because we've got clean sheets and, and most of that comes from the fact that we dictate so much of the play, we have so much of the ball, that we then don't often give up that many chances in a lot of games. But actually, when the defence needs to defend, we are not actually as good as what we make out we are. Whether it's Firpo and Bogle, they're both attacking full-backs, and neither of them are great defensively. I think Bogle's okay. I think he gets hit with a bit of a dodgy stick after a bad start to the season. I think defensively, most of the time, he's okay. My thoughts on Pascal. I think Joe Rodon's a very, very good championship defender. Pascal, we'll get to him again. I hate to kind of keep on bringing him up because it feels like I'm just pushing a point, but it is what it is. So I think that some of it comes down to that. We then put under a bit of pressure with no natural ball-winning centre defensive midfielders in the team at the moment, and we're seeing a lot of opportunities for his opponents to get chances. But I say that, and then I kind of check myself.
They only had that, yeah.
They only have one chance. Yeah, they only have one chance.
this is the thing. I mean, I want to get to Brian's point because it leads perfectly on from what you're saying there. Yet again, Struijk and Meslier showed that they are far too slow, sluggish, and hesitant under attack. I mean, Struijk, you're watching that. Get at him. Get at the player. Be aggressive. Go to him. I mean, what's he doing, Jason? What is this guy doing? And how many times have I said this to you on reviews, Jason, where he's getting beat? He's getting beat every game. There's a point that it happens at least once or twice a game where someone gets away from him. And I'm not saying you have to be perfect as a central defender, but for me, it's like positioning. It's how aggressive he is or isn't. It's, and I agree with you. I hate to do it. I hate to kind of be banging this drum, but I'll lay my cards out there. For me, I think if we had a fully fit, I'm talking if we had Firpo back, I will be dropping Struijk for Wöber because I think you're going to get a more consistent defensive performance. I think you're going to be more solid at the back with Wöber in, and this kind of progressive passing thing and this, ball carrying and okay, yeah, whatever. But I want my defense to be good at defending. And for me, I think the time has come where I would like to see Struijk out the team and Wöber there, ideally. Now, I don't think it'll happen. We've got injuries. Wöber seems to be kind of quite injury prone himself. It won't happen. But I just think it's a weakling. I think it's a weakling. And Meslier, I mean, one shot, first shot in. He kind of gets to it, but doesn't, isn't strong enough to kind of keep the ball out. How many times we said this, Jason? How many times we said this already this season? They are massive, massive weaklings. I think you bang on as well about the point that we are not as good defensively as what we should be or what we think we are, possibly.
The back line, like the defensive structure and the tactic within the team is good, but the actual defending capabilities of our defenders is actually not as good as what we think it is.
Yeah.
What's happened with Pascal over the last 18 months or so is people kind of been gaslighting themselves into thinking he's this massive presence centre back who's a ball playing. He's just not. Like yesterday's distribution was terrible. I go back and look at the game, and again, these highlight reels will get clipped up. This is the defender, my championship defender. I can see it already on Twitter of him playing 5-yard passes and then one decent pass within the lines. But go and have a look at how many are stretched to the receiver, and the receiver stretching to get it under control, or it just goes through to the keeper, or it goes out of play. Like, he's just not what you think.
But Jason, sorry to interrupt, but we went on our best run last year when he was out of the team. Fact.
Yeah, it's
we got that injury. Ampadu came in as centre back. We did. We went on that incredible winning streak.
Yeah.
Without Pascal in the team.
I think it was nine clean sheets in a row, something as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. But there's this kind of thing of like we were better with Pascal in the team. Hang on, his last game we lost to bloody Preston last time. I think that was his last game last season.
Yeah.
I don't understand where
this
idea of Pascal as Superman has come from. I don't understand where. I think there's a bit of club marketing. I think vice captain thing as well. I think he's been here a long time. The idea of Struijk is better than what the reality is.
Well, the same applies to Gnonto, doesn't it, with regards to what the club have done in terms of the marketing. And again, it's not about hating on anybody. It's just about analysing performances. The same goes for Gnonto. For me, Gnonto should be nowhere near the starting 11 right now. He's not playing well enough to have earned that spot. I mean, yesterday it was so... Anyway, I'm telling you, we'll come to Gnonto. Just getting back to this kind of situation, I don't know what we do with it, because I think you're right. I think ultimately he's a favourite. He's vice captain. Wöber is injury prone himself. I'm not even saying that Wöber is the long term solution. No. I just think he's a better defender than Pascal. I think he's more consistent. He concentrates better. I actually think his ball playing is better too. I do. I'm going to say it. I think his distribution is better. The argument with Meslier is two pronged for me, right? So you cannot be of the position where you're just being like, that goal is Meslier's fault and that's it. That's not right. Yeah. Oh, shit keeper, we've conceded, because there's plenty that goes on before that results in the goal. Pascal is just burn in terms of the way that Osmajic just spins him. What a cretin he is. I cannot stand Osmajic at all after what he did last year, and just his antics this season as well. But he spins off him. It's good play. Then the ball that comes across, Rodon tells Bogo to leave it. He lets it run across. If you watch it back, Rodon actually goes, it's clear. He's not aware that the player's there. Then Bogle just kind of takes that as gospel and just leaves it. And then Meslier obviously does his bit as well. So there was plenty that happened before that, but it would be nice once in a while to be bailed out by your keeper. Just make a save, man. Just make a save. And like I say, it is close to him. But then you go and have a look at Emi Martinez last night. Emi Martinez in the last minute, well, he makes a wonder save, but then in the last minute of the game, he has one put right into his chest and spills it and bundles it into the net. Now, you know, like, but the difference with Meslier is it's not 1 in 10. It's every game. Every game that we concede, it feels like he could have saved it, and he just doesn't. That's the problem with Elam. So I'm just gonna have a little bit of a dig back at Gavin here, because I know Gavin's great for comments, and he's put some comments in today. Which some of them have got valid points, some of them I think are way off the mark. Gav, we know that you've clearly got a bit of an issue with Daniel Farke. It doesn't matter whether he wins, loses, or draws. You come in and you criticise him, and I don't think that that's fair. But the comment a little bit further down where you're blaming recruitment is just it's just bonkers. Our recruitment has been brilliant. It's been brilliant. Now, should we have purchased a keeper? Maybe, right? You know, Sheffield United go out and buy Cooper from Plymouth. He's a fantastic keeper. He's not conceded a goal at home yet this season. He's a great keeper. And I am absolutely down for the argument that the difference between us and them right now in terms of the position in the league, because bear in mind they started on -2 points as well, is probably Illan Meslier and Cooper. I get it. But you don't understand the back end side of things that goes on with having a keeper that's got the value attached to him that Illan Meslier does. Like, the club will know that he probably needed upgrading. But if you're not able to sell him for the value that you want to get and then recruit somebody in that's better, because as much as he's the weak link, there isn't a whole host of championship level keepers that are going to be that much better than him, that it'd be worth taking a 10 million reduction on Meslier. Let's say you value him at 15 million, you have to sell him for 5, and then go out and purchase somebody that's better than him. So I'm just saying, I'm playing a bit of devil's advocate with this, because Carl Darlow's not better than him. He's just not. No. He's not. No. You kid yourself all you want. He's not. So, yeah, that's my point on that.
Yeah, no, I think with Meslier, I think I'd describe it as just about getting away with it at the moment, because generally speaking, we are so strong, consistent at home, not a problem. It feels like, I mean, I would say Meslier is a clear weak point before the start of the season. 100%. Absolutely. I would have absolutely loved us to go and do some recruitment there. You know, I'm not sure. I mean, like you say, for all those reasons you mentioned, that's why we've not done it. I think it's like a calculated risk. You weigh it up and you go, well, he can do the ball playing stuff, certainly to a certain extent. He's comfortable with the ball, which Darlow isn't. We know Darlow comes into this team and he can't live with that type of football. So we know that Meslier can just about scrape through that. It's just one of them things. It's a weak link we've got in our team. We know that he's going to be, when those first shots in games are likely to go in at this point. You look at his record in the Championship, he's always in the bottom 5 of keepers for whatever metric you want to actually look at. So he's absolutely a weak point. But I think that there's not going to be anything done in January. We know that. There's no point.
Not with him, there's not.
You don't prize a goalkeeper away from anywhere in January, really. It's not going to happen. So for me, it is a big problem. We will read through some of your comments in a moment when we've got some of our points out. But yeah, it's frustrating because it's that uphill battle. And, when you're seeing Sheffield United, who, Leeds comfortably beat, a couple of months ago, and they've done that recruitment and they've got someone solid in there, it is frustrating to see that, because you just think, God, if we just had, if you could have someone you could trust in that position not to concede those goals and who does bail you out from time to time, it would be ideal.
It's as important as a killer striker. Like putting the ball in the back of the net is as important as keeping one out in many ways. And there's some of these games that we're going into. I mean, without talking about Dieng at Middlesbrough, had a bit of a stinker. Most of the keepers that we're dealing with, Pears against Blackburn, he's a bang average keeper. Woodman yesterday, bang average Championship keeper. They keep their teams in a game just through making standard saves. You know what I mean? And it then becomes more and more frustrating, and you grow more and more frustrated as the game goes on. And I would have, I can blame the recruitment to a point in that I would have liked to seen a more sustainable, maybe debutant come in. Look at the Rotherham keeper Aaronson as an example. Like, he could have come in for £1 million and been said, look, you're his number 2, but if Ilan's having a bad time, you then bring him in. I can make a case for that being a fair argument of the recruitment process. But then you've brought Darlow in a year ago on a decent whack to sit on the bench. So what do you do with him? Because we have, we have a wage budget. You can't just. It's not Football Manager. You can't just spend and release people, and transfer listing somebody don't just instantly mean that offers start coming in. It doesn't work like that. So it's a trick. The recruitment was good. Let's not try and make that argument. The recruitment was good this summer.
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, if we get to the Premier League, he absolutely cannot start the Premier League, and neither can Pascal either.
He'd be one of my first.
Absolutely, be first off the list. But I think it generally, no complaints with the recruitment there. I think it's one of these things that we're gonna have to kind of put up with. And I think the problem is as well, partly is, and it kind of winds me up when the club does this, is when they heavily focus or heavily promote. So we've heard all the Iceman stuff, and it seems like every minute positive thing Meslier does, the club will put it all out on socials. Iceman this and it's almost like he's been built up into this kind of figure of we're not going to get rid of him. Obviously, they're wanting to keep value for him, in case someone does want to actually spend for him. But Farke seems to like him. Maybe it's partly Farke's fault he's still there as well. Farke's probably been like, well, he fits my style, and that's hard to replicate. So it's one of those things. I think he's a clear weak point. I think it'll be a problem for us all season. He's not going to suddenly, get out of this. And I think he will. I think the annoying thing is, the kind of worrying thing is, he will cost us points. Whether it's 10 games, 15 games, he will at some point cost us more points, unfortunately. So it just is what it is.
I can't wait to get into this Bamford and Joseph 2 chances. Don't let's not skip over too many pages. I'm just saying, Byron, I've seen your comment, and I can't wait to get into talking about this, because this has been something that's really vexed me a little bit. But look, I think what you've got to remember is, at the Championship level, even at Premier League level, you're not going to have a perfect team. You're going to have weak links somewhere. So if we were to, let's say we had a perfect keeper, we would now be looking at another area of the pitch which were a problem, whether it be Pascal, whether it would be Junior, whether it'll be Solomon, or, the midfield, or whatever, or the 9. Like we're going to probably talk about the 9s in a minute, because we're a Championship team. So you're going to have weak links. I think you have to kind of mitigate them as much as we can. And I think as a team, we actually do mitigate our weak link as much as we possibly can, in that we don't let Ilan face that many shots. We just don't as a team. And I do think with the ball at his feet, he's pretty good. Like, think about the things that he does. His distribution long distance can be a bit sketchy from time to time, but he's very much in charge of starting our phase of play out the back. And what Meslier does really well is he brings the ball out and he entices attackers towards him to then open spaces in behind into that first third of the pitch. I don't think every keeper's capable of doing what he does with the ball. It looks simple when we're watching a game of football, but for a keeper to do what he does, it isn't that simple. He always gets it right. You never see Meslier 10, 15 yards out of his box and give the ball to an attacker and then rolling the ball in the empty net. And that is very much a risk for what he does. So I'm playing devil's advocate. I don't like him. I would prefer to replace him, but I understand some of his qualities in a Farke system, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's
what I mean.
Absolutely. Willie Gnonto, I just want to spend a bit of time talking about Gnonto as well, because for me, I'll be completely honest with you, I know a lot of people were raving about him at the start of the season, and I kind of went along with it without actually ever being fully convinced. I'll be completely honest with you. I thought his good performances were overrated. I think he's been declining. His performances have been declining for a while. For me, it's baffling that he wasn't out of the team and Solomon back in. You saw Solomon's quality for the goal I mean, exquisite control and the way he passes it, really good. I don't know, the thing is, he's very young, so they have periods of inconsistency, they have periods of up and down. That is fine. I am not bothered if Willie Gnonto is out of form or whatever. We know his talent. We know how good he can be. He had that very consistent period for us in the final third of last season where he was really good. So we know that. We have enough quality in this squad. We have enough quality wingers-wise to say to this guy, okay, you're not performing at that optimum level or good enough at the moment. We can leave you out. Now, this is where I'm looking at Farke going, I would like to see him do that because it's feeling at the minute like it's preordained that Gnonto is going to be starting. He got dropped for that other game, but it turned out it was only to avoid a suspension and get his cards reset. Farke said himself that. But for me, when you've got Solomon, who, by the way, is looking better and better, is on a rich vein of form. You've got Ramazani as well. You can mix it up. You can do things to mix this up. I don't understand why Gnonto is still starting. For me, he's massively, massively underwhelming. I mean, yesterday, a couple of times, he's got the ball out wide. On the left, cutting in where we've sometimes argued this could be his best position, he's indecisive. He'll kind of dribble it and then try and dribble it again.
Yeah.
You're like, no, dude, make a decision, pass, shoot. He's just not playing well, Jason. He's not playing well. And I feel like, and I think you may have tweeted it yesterday, where kind of fan base is waking up a little bit now to they've taken the kind of rose-tinted glasses off about Gnonto and these performances. And for me, I just think he needs time out of the team. And I don't want that to sound like I'm slagging Gnonto off or anything. That's fine. You can be dropped. We've got enough quality. Jason, we've got so much quality. Solomon, Ramazani, these are unbelievable players that can come in. Let's not just stick with this kind of idea that he has to be in this team. He has to play, because he doesn't. And he's not doing the business.
I don't think there's anybody in the team that has got an inherent right to a spot. I really don't. I think Tanaka's probably as close to it as we've got right now, just because he's so impactful and so all round. He's just such a level up on the rest of the team. But I think at that side, and I'd include Dan James in that as well, who I think he's probably our best player right now. He's not got a divine right to start every single game. If his form drops, he's gets a couple of opportunities and then he's out. Like you say, we've got an abundance of options in them areas. Gnonto is 21-year-old now. I think we're guilty of forgetting that at times because he's been around a few years. He's a baby. He's still an absolute baby in terms of professional football in time. He's played an unbelievable amount of games for his age. And the facts are, he's bang out of form at the moment. I know that on paper, he's getting goals and assists, but look at the goal that he got the other day as an example. And he doesn't tell the full story. And that also doesn't mean that he's a bad player. He's not a bad player. He's a good player. No. But right now, you're right. He's trying to do too much. When they're not trying to do too much, he's doing too little. He doesn't commit defenders enough down the outside. He always wants to come inside. Solomon came on yesterday and took him several times down to the byline onto his left foot. He cuts back inside too much, or goes back down the line too much, and looks for the safe option. He'll always cut inside and try and shoot, and they're often P-rollers. He's just often trying too hard, and he shouldn't have started a game now, I don't think, for the past month. I think he's been way out of form. But look, I think Daniel Farke is a little bit guilty at times of having favourites.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that definitely exists. I think that exists throughout the whole team in certain areas. He's one of them. I think Pascal's another. I think Mellier's another. I think Perot's kind of falls into that kind of category as well. And we'll get into that debate at some point, I'm sure. But he should be starting. He should be starting right now. Solomon and Dan James should be the first two names on the team sheet with regards to the wingers. For me, I've just seen Gav's comment pop up, and I was going to mention this before, but Ramazani, since coming back from injury, hasn't looked fully fit. And I was a bit guilty of gassing Ramazani up before his injury, because what we'd seen were pretty scary. I mean, he was frightening. He was very, very good, and he looked like he had the potential to be the best out of the lot, and I'm sure that he probably can be. But right now, when he's coming, I think he has been a bit guilty of looking a bit like he's trying too hard as well. Now, maybe he does need a start to kind of be able to build back into the game, so I can kind of come in with that angle. But if he's not fully ready after an injury, he got back a little bit quicker than we expected as well. I haven't got a massive problem with him riding bench until the right time comes. And we've only seen him for maybe 3 starts. So let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Yeah, he needs to earn himself his spot back as well. But for me, and again, this pedal of agenda, like it just drives me mad. Solomon barely has had a mention online yesterday. We get a point because of Solomon. Like he came on, his deliveries were dangerous. He was committing defenders. He brings the ball all the way across the pitch and plays it out to Dan James, who Dan James then crosses in. That doesn't happen without Solomon there. He made the difference. He did, but nobody will mention it. So
if you're Solomon, I mean, are you banging on Farke's door going, what the hell's going on? Why aren't you playing him? Come on, I'm in form. I mean, I know it's not the drum thing or whatever these days, but for me, Solomon is good enough to kind of be demanding. You don't want to end up like Jadon Anthony, where you kind of, the afterthought. Do you know what I mean? It's like, he's done enough for me to warrant it and put the pressure on.
Possibly. What I will say to that is Solomon has actually played a bit recently. He's started 2 of the last 5 and then come on in the other 3. And we do know his injury record and his background, and he might still be building back in. We've had 3 games this week. Again, don't forget Wednesday, Saturday, or whatever it was. So maybe it's just that. Maybe we'll see him next Saturday and he'll be back in the starting line. I do believe that Daniel Farke's number 1 left winger is Manor Solomon. I do believe that. He came in and started when he first joined, got injured. When he then came back, he found his way back into the starting lineup fairly quickly. When I think that surprised some people that Gnonto was then dropped. I just think it's his fitness. I think it's his injury issues. So, but I could be proved wrong. If he doesn't start next Saturday, I would probably say, he should be banging on the door.
Yeah. Just want to quickly throw this up because I've just seen this on Twitter. Friend of the show, Tom Carnduff, stats for the top 5 clubs' goalkeepers this season, measuring how much they saved compared to chances conceded. Interesting to note there, Melier well down compared to our rivals. How big a difference that'll make? We'll wait and see. Guys, if you're watching along, please do remember, please like the video, supports the channel, gets the video out there as well. And if you're watching again later as well and not live, please do leave a comment as well. It's always fascinating to see what you guys have got to say. Right, let's have a look through some of the comments and then we'll get onto the Bamford and Joseph chances.
Can we, while we're doing this, can we address the Farke chat? So go through the comments and obviously Gav is just going for Daniel today.
Eustace showing up Farke. Farke has made comments that to me shows his deficiencies. He was happy after the first 20 minutes versus Preston. What game was he watching? We were poor throughout. Blunt's poor last 2 games, but get the job done. Let's see what else we've got. Nige, when your defence is not on it 100%, you rely on your last line of defence, the goalkeeper. We don't have currently a confident goalkeeper to bail us out. Let's see what else. Byron, did our goal come from a similar cross that Bamford missed? At least Joseph was fast enough to handle his heel movement.
He wasn't.
Digler, we play a one-dimensional game. Every team knows we play the ball on the floor. It's so predictable for the opposition. Signing a big, tall number 9 would enable us to vary play, i.e. aerial attacks. And Gavin, his only tactical is throw on 6 forwards from 70 minutes. It's things like this that prove he would drown us in the Prem if we get there. Okay, so Farke getting a bit of paste in there in the comments. My own take on the whole Farke situation is I saw a man who was not happy that first half. He was, and this, by the way, it's nothing to do with what was happening with the officials, which he was rightly upset with. I'm talking about his own players. He knew it wasn't good enough. He knew the attitude wasn't there. His tactics, for me this season, have developed from last season. We've mentioned it many times. I feel like I have progressed. We've got the players, we've got the capability. Don't forget, okay, having a good team, great, and good talented players, but it's how you use them. Have you got the system that can get the best out of these talented players? All this kind of thing. I feel like we do. yesterday, it's just too many bad performances yesterday. But Jason, your take on the whole Farke thing and what people are saying in the comments?
Yeah, so I think I saw a comment from Gav earlier, and then John's kind of said a similar kind of thing at the bottom comment here. So I'll just bring it up quickly. About this current situation is going to see us, our current form is going to see us battling for second or missing out on automatic promotion altogether. Our form throughout this season so far sees us finish on 93 points. That's including the away performance. So that's just not true. It's just not true, guys. Like, again, it's easy to get trapped in this kind of mood of feeling like this away hoodoo at the moment that's going on is bigger than what it is. But, you know, at the end of the day, Leicester won the league last season, losing 11 games. We've lost 3 times all season. You know what I mean? And we're, nearly halfway there? So, like, I just think we need a bit of perspective. Like, we need serious perspective. We're going to drop points. I said this last week in the review. Like, we're going to drop points. You know, whether it be away at Preston or wherever, like, it's going to happen. So I just think we need to have a serious dose of reality. Like, 90 points may not be enough. It will be. It will be, because the championship's completely different. This time last season, we had basically the same points and we were 10 points off top. We're 2 points off top, and we you know, if Burnley, I think Burnley still can't go in front of us today, whether they win or not. No. So it's totally different, and the teams are all capable of taking points off each other. You know, Sheffield United yesterday, they have 2 shots on target. They get dominated pretty much. Sorry, camera's blurred. We have they get dominated pretty much at home by Plymouth. Now they win the game, and that is testament to a side that then goes on to win the league. They probably had a bad day at the office yesterday, but the point is that, you know, at the end of the day, Plymouth were probably pretty capable of picking something up from that game yesterday. Sheffield United only made it secure in the last minutes, and Plymouth are one of the worst teams in the division. That's the championship. So I just think we need a serious dose of perspective and reality with this. The current form that we've got will probably be enough for us to win the league. It'll almost certainly be enough for us to finish in the top 2. So then coming to Daniel Farke, look, he, like Browney says, he definitely wasn't happy with that first half yesterday. We didn't start well. Now, what he says in the press and what he thinks are 2 different things. Like, he's, just like Bielsa did, he's out front and centre protecting his players. Yeah, but what he says behind the scenes, I think, would be very different. There was some serious intensity issues, you know, the attitude, the desire and whatnot, difference between the 2 teams was evident in the first half. We still missed chances that we created, and we came out and played much better in the second half. Did he make the personnel choices? I'd have started Verba, but I don't know how fit he was. And I mean, I think aside from that, Solomon for Gnonto. And, you know, I think no matter what, how good a team is or not, you're going to always have a disagreement with the manager in terms of the personnel that starts the game. It's unlikely that every fan is just going to agree with the starting 11, because that's just fans, isn't it? It's the way it works. Yeah. Getting on to the back end of the game, the throw all 6-7 strikers on. I mean, I made a comment in the group yesterday. Oh, we're at that stage of the game where everybody was on the pitch. We had Tanaka in midfield and then 6 strikers. It was ridiculous. And I don't like it. I think at the end of the day, you need somewhere to be able to break down an opposition that are sitting in. However, the subs got us a point. So I'm then left in a position where I'm thinking to myself, on this occasion, he's got it right, because he did get a point. Yeah. And ultimately, the reason that we were in the position that we were in the first place was because of individual performances, not Daniel Farke. So, yeah, I find it a real difficult battle and argument to have. And I just think this notion that it's all on Daniel Farke when it goes wrong, but it's all on the players when it goes right, it's just BS. Yeah. Pure BS.
Skip, Farke deserves respect and time. It's not all down to him when we drop points. Yes, he's stubborn and makes mistakes. Players need to take blame. Also for the performances, our squad quality will get us up. Just in terms of the subs and everything, in terms of timing and all that kind of thing, I mean, I had to take off at half time, and I would have been happy with, 3 changes being made at halftime, and a bit of kind of, something like that really shake things up. I mean, he doesn't seem to be willing to really do that. What did you make of? I mean, I know you've mentioned, having everybody on. It's not ideal, but in terms of timing of subs yesterday, what was your take on that?
He started making them a little bit earlier yesterday, I thought. I think they did start a bit earlier. What I don't like is when he brings one on, and then 4 minutes later brings another one on. Then 5 minutes later brings another one on. It gives no kind of continuity to let stuff kind of start developing. So I don't particularly like that. I'd have brought Solomon on at halftime for Gnonto yesterday. I thought that was just a change that was just screaming out personally. And it'd have given him 45 minutes to get really into the game. But yeah, like I say, I find it hard to then completely batter him for it because it actually worked yesterday. Like, however you want to kind of cut the cake, we still got a point out of the game because of the subs. Yeah. The changes made the difference. So we've done this before. We've had this argument before where, like, we've been sat here and be like, well, it made the difference. Like Wednesday against Borough, his subs won us the game on Wednesday. They did. Perot made a massive difference when he came on. Solomon played well, and I think there were another change that I thought really changed, but Perot was the big one on Wednesday. So it's a real tricky one.
I think. I mean, for me with Farke, I mean, I think he's progressed the team this year. Do I think ultimately Daniel Farke is good enough? Not really. Not for the Premier League on what we're seeing. I know obviously he didn't get much of a chance at Norwich, but you just look at it and it does sometimes feel very predictable and not kind of, I mean, for comparison, you look at someone like Enzo Maresca, who's doing a fantastic job at Chelsea, who what he did with Leicester last year, that wasn't easy. He was coming into a situation that was not easy. By the way, he'd only managed at Parma for a short period of time. To come in and do what he did with Leicester, and obviously we had a lot of rivalry with Leicester last year. So it was a little bit like, we're not going to give them their full due else we're kind of, battling against them. And obviously Chelsea wanted Maresca. And I said to you last year, nobody in the summer was looking at Daniel Farke from Premier League level going, oh, Daniel Farke, we've got to get him. He's got a hell of a lot to prove as Daniel Farke, above this level, and that's a different kind of debate completely. We've said many times before. I don't think ultimately he'll be good enough for the Premier League. That's just my take on it. I think,
it's a different conversation though, isn't it?
It's completely different, and I think for me, what's frustrating a little bit is he's got such a talented squad. I would just like to see sometimes mixing things up a little bit earlier and having a bit more bravery to drop players and bring other players in rather than just looking for rinse and repeat. So as always, it's a mixed bag. I do think he's done a fantastic job, and his record in the Championship is second to none.
Can I just bring up a couple of comments?
Yeah, of course you can.
Yeah, so this one. So the form table, we've won 4, drawn 1, lost 1. So what you're asking, John, is for us to be perfect. That's pretty much what you're saying, right? And again, I'm not saying that you've not got rights to be disgruntled, but what I'm saying is check yourself from where you're at to what you're actually asking for. But we are dropping too many points. We've won 4 of the last 6, drawn 1 and lost 1. So you're asking for perfect. And we're not going to need to be perfect over the whole season. I think over the last.
But do you think there's an argument? The squad quality? We're dropping too many points for this quality of squad. When you look at the strength and depth of the quality, is there a feeling that we shouldn't be dropping as much? I mean, I agree in the sense of we can't be perfect, but I just. You look at Preston, who've not won a game since October, and we should really, with the quality in the team, are we dropping too many points versus what the quality of squad is?
Maybe, but then, I mean, Sheffield United, I think, are probably right now, probably a bit happier than us, let's just say, right? They carry on ticking off them wins, right? But Burnley will be saying the same thing. Yeah, they'll be saying the same thing. Like, and we're all in this battle together. That's the Championship, innit? Look at the Premier League yesterday. Liverpool go and draw at home at Fulham. Arsenal go and draw at home to Everton. Like, social media is mental because I saw people asking for Arteta to be sacked yesterday.
I'll say that.
Like, what?
Arsenal fans are wrong in the head, though. Them ones are like, they're just another level.
But this is football, isn't it? This is
Yeah.
a football fan, and this is what I'm saying. Like, I think you just have to kind of just check the reality a little bit. You know, over the form table right now, the last 6 were 1 point worse off than Burnley and Sheffield United. 1 point. You know what I mean? Like, the form team in the division right now are Blackburn, and they're the only team that we've lost to.
Yeah,
they've won 6 from 6.
Look at their goalkeeper, by the way, in that last graphic. You know,
they've
that's
conceded 1 goal
contribution. Yeah, and the goalkeeper's overperformed massively.
But again, Brownie, the point is that the one team that we've lost to right now are the best team in the division on form. So again, is it the end of the world where we're at? It's just not. No. It's just not. And I think you've mentioned this before, and I think it's a really good point. We just love the doom mentality at Leeds as a fan base for some reason. We like to kind of self-harm. That's what it's like. It's like we kind of pile on this misery on top of ourselves on purpose. And it's actually not that bad. But I hear you. Like I said to you in the review, we need to go to Preston and win.
Yeah.
And I did believe that. And I still feel like that was the right sentiment. The context of the game, however, like changes that. Yeah, because I do think we should have been playing against 10 men. We did have chances. Brendan scores. It's a different game. Dan James hits the bar. Bamford scores. We've got more time to finish the game off. You know, that goal from Joseph comes a few minutes earlier. We could have probably gone on to win it anyway. You know, look at Forest and Villa last night. They turned that game around in the last 3-4 minutes to score 2 goals in 4 minutes, and it's a loss to a win in minutes. So, you know, like these teams are all out to get something out of Leeds United. You know, you feel it when you're at a Deepdale or Stoke or whatever. Like it's you know, it's not the form of them losing 6 in a row or whatever. Kind of goes out the window, doesn't it, when they play us? So
yeah, no, I agree. I mean, what I guess kind of, you know, and it'll be what it'll be. It doesn't really make a difference, but you know, I think if we don't go up this year, you know, you'd be looking back at games like this and going, Jesus, man, with the squad we've got, why the hell didn't we go to Preston and win? You know what I mean? But I get where I totally get your point, and it's, you know, you can't be perfect. Speaking of negative, David, I'll bring your comment up because I think you might be a new viewer, mate. Thanks for your comment. It'd be nice to have a manager that could react to what is going on the pitch instead of just firefighting. Again, for me, it was the opening 20 minutes. You just give yourself an uphill battle. One thing,
just on that. Sorry. This is going to be a long one today, isn't it? I'm sorry. I think he makes a great point. I also think that as fans, we just see that as a substitution. I think we see a sub happen and we think that the manager's changing something and that's it. I think we're very kind of ignorant to the fact of there's in-game changes all the time where he might be saying, you know, to Joe Rothwell, sit 5 yards deeper. Tanaka, you go there and cover that man. You know, Bogle, Jayden, don't be going outside, start coming inside a little bit more. We miss all that because we're not there. We're not part of the coaching staff that sees all that going on. In-game changes do happen. We were far better in the second half of yesterday through management changes that happened likely at half-time, even before the subs came. So, and they do happen. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, again, playing a bit of devil's advocate, you don't know that he's not changing things within the game. And you don't be as successful as Daniel Farke is in the Championship without being able to do that. You know, look at the press against Middlesbrough and the way that we set up. Yeah, like he's very, very capable as well. This whole inept conversation around Daniel Farke is ludicrous. This is a top, I'm not saying Premier League, but this is a top level manager that's managed in the top levels of, you know, Bundesliga and the Premier League, and he's been a 2-time winner of the Championship. No matter how good the squad is, you still need to tactically be able to then go and deliver something on the pitch. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just nonsense. It's just nonsense to say that he's tactically inept or he doesn't change things in games, as an example.
Yeah. Digley, I don't blame Farke for the situation. I think that the team is unbalanced. Bring 1 or 2 players in January and we could be awesome. That's on the 49ers. Gavin, Farke has 0 excuses with the squad.
I agree with that. And if we get to the end of the season and we have failed, it will be on Daniel Farke. This squad is the best in the league. It is. But we need to judge that at the end of the season, not now. Like, we don't need to be battering in with it for now because ultimately he's still second in the league, couple of points off top. He's kind of doing the MO right now. Yeah, but you are, Gavin is 100% right with this, because this squad is too good not to go up with what's around us. I agree, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Gail, welcome along, Gail. Think forwards not doing great apart from James and Gavin. Bamford on FFS. So Bamford came on because I was listening on Radio Leeds. I was like, Bamford? How did that go for you, the Bamford thing? What are we looking at with Bamford now? I mean, obviously, I saw a tweet and I saw your reply and I knew, this will be a conversation because someone tweeted the Bamford XG was 0.98, which is obviously higher than a penalty. And then you put zero context underneath. Yeah. How was that whole Bamford thing yesterday?
Okay. So in terms of his overall play, I didn't think he was too bad. Caught offside a couple too many times like he always is. I thought he battled with the centre-backs better than Pirot did. He offered us more than Pirot did for the time that he was on the pitch. Do I want Bamford to start? No. Do I want Bamford to even be at Leeds United anymore? No, I don't. I'm just going to pre-context that straight away. Now, the chance specifically is blasted at him. Yeah, it's a pretty pacey ball by Dan James. Should he go with his instep? Probably. He tries to kind of like Cruyff touch it, go in. I've watched it back a couple of times now. I think it's a more difficult chance than people are letting on. The context of 0.98 on XG is just waffle for me. And ultimately, like, he's not going to be a scorer of them kind of chances. He never has been. Now, people are criticising him, but then praising Mateo Joseph for what he does. The chances are basically exactly the same. Mateo Joseph misses his completely. He misses it completely. He doesn't get any touch on it, and it comes off the defender and goes in. He just gets more luck than Bamford does. That's the only difference between the two chances. It's as simple as that. But Joseph's getting praise for missing it, basically, and Bamford's getting hate because it's Bamford. That's ultimately the way that I see it. And I think it's really unfair to treat one with a certain stick and treat the other with another. I think we've got a problem at 9. And it's not rectified by anybody that's at the club. That's what I think. I think
feels that way.
Yeah, I think a hybrid between a more experienced version of Joseph and Pirot would be perfect. But we're in the Championship. Them strikers don't exist in the Championship, or they're few and far between. Anyway, you know, we had this conversation the other day. You go through the Championship and you'd struggle to find too many. I saw somebody mention Latte La. Middlesbrough, be a great signing, but it cost us 20 million quid. We're not going to go out and spend 20 million quid on another number 9. No. We're not. So then you're kind of left in a recruitment pool of trying to either get somebody that the Premier League doesn't want that's probably over the hill, which we've got one of them in Patrick Bamford anyway, or then go out and get a masterclass recruitment stroke that you find somebody from somewhere obscure like a team of Farke, as an example. So I just think it's a real difficult conundrum to solve, and you're left with trying to find this hybrid between Joseph and Pirot. For me, I would probably still be siding on the side of Pirot, because I just think when the chance comes, he will be the man to take it. Whereas Mateo has not taken his chances. I thought he was all right against Borough. I thought he played all right in the first half. He got a lot of hate for that half. I thought he did all right. But before that, his attitude has stunk when he's come on. So Pirot deserves it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know I've kind of covered over a couple of captains.
No, I think, do you know what? You hit the nail on the head, because I'm looking at these 3 options we've got up front. Quickly, why do you think Bamford was on first ahead of Joseph?
I think Daniel Farke has kind of answered it as clearly in that he's been training well. He's been seeing his confidence coming back in training, and I think Bamford's better at battling with bruisey kind of centre backs than Joseph is. I think there's a bit of a myth that Joseph's like this big, strong centre forward that's a bit of a tagline. He does some okay hold up play, but I don't think he's particularly great at holding the ball up at all. Bamford used to be pretty good at Championship level, and he has lost a little bit of that. Bamford shouldn't be playing for Leeds, but he is still our second or third best number 9. He is. Like, there isn't anyone else to play there. So, you know, this is why we ended up with the enigma of Gio up front last season at times, or Pirot up front, because we haven't got anyone else. And the best period, you know, you mentioned Ampadu coming in for Stroik last year. The best period of play that we saw last year were with Bamford at the 9. Now, I don't think he's still that player. I think he's lost even more since then. But it was, because he's an out and out experienced 9, and that is something that we do desperately miss, because Pirro's just not it. He's just not that full package that we need. I really like him. I'll be honest with you, I do. I love watching him play. I love watching him in on goal. He's just most of the time he's a killer finisher. The strike that he had against Derby the other day that the keeper finished. We haven't got another striker that hits a ball like that. And I always feel like he's going to score, but he just doesn't get enough chances in this system because the 9 is there for the build-up.
Well, don't you think as well? I mean, for me, Pirro, like when he came off the bench against Middlesbrough, it's like, wow, the impact there, setting up chances. I'll be honest, he still frustrates me, does Pirro, watching him. There's a point where ball went looped over to their keeper. He wasn't offside, but there was no urgency to his press. He just cannot press this guy. And he's shooting outside the box is awful. Absolutely awful. He's just too invisible for me the majority of the times. I don't know why, probably game state, where for me he seems to make a bigger impact when he comes off the bench. I mean, you look at his stats, everything's like unbelievable when
there's more space
off the bench. Off the bench versus starting. So I'd be happy to see maybe just Joseph starting and work him like dogs, press, whatever, or maybe even Paddy. I don't know.
I think you're going to be in a position soon, Browney, where you see Pat start. I really do. I think it's going to happen, and people are going to go ballistic. But he is going to start a game soon. I'm telling you.
Can you imagine? Diggler here. Paddy always finds a way to miss. He's absolutely world class at that. Bless him.
He's always been the same, though, hasn't he? He's so profligate in front of goal. It's unbelievable because we've seen his technical ability in front of goal in the Premier League. But it's a pressure thing with Pat. It's composure.
Yeah, Storm 81. If Joseph missed what Bamford did, then
exactly. This is the problem I've got with it, because it's just not fair. I mean, you saw 2 exact chances. Joseph missed his worse than Bamford, and it was an own goal. He just got lucky. That's it. And I'm not hating on Matteo. I'm not. I'm glad for him, but. Yeah.
No, John, I'm not saying Farke is inept. He asked for a number 10 to help him win low block games. All I care about is getting promoted and protecting the club.
Fair point.
Let's have a look. David, Joseph, young and more athletic and still learning. Gavin, no, he's sticking to it. 4 great winners / 0 strikers. Poor planning and recruitment.
I mean, Gav's just said he's 21 and learning. Sure, yeah, he deserves more time. But he's a first-team player for Leeds United. You deal with him with the same stick as everyone else, like same as Gnonto at 20. But for me, once you're a professional footballer, I think, outside of like Archie Gray last year, where he's come in and he's thrust in, I think you can kind of give him more credence because of his age and inexperience. But I think, Matteo's pretty experienced now, really, for in and around this level. If he wants to make it as a minimum championship footballer, I think you deal with him with the same critique. You know what I mean? And then I've just seen what you said about Bamford. Then Costas, this is the problem. You're just beating him with a stick from stuff that's happened in previously. And I'm not saying that he should start, but that doesn't mean that then he should just be slammed into the ground over a miss yesterday. It just doesn't. It's just not right.
Linda, the team on the whole are playing much better than last season. These new players are bonding well. Great. Thanks for your comment. Let's have a look. Sniper, do you think there's a case of Joseph and Gnonto being overhyped by the Leeds fan base? I mean,
I've said this on Gnonto. Browney, I've said this on Gnonto for 3 years. For 3 years, I've said this. He came in, had a couple of good games, then dropped off, was our, flower within a terrible bed of weeds and stuff. The rose in between all the thorns is what we're looking for. And when he first came in the Premier League, we were so bad that we were looking for anything to kind of give us something. Sam Allardyce came in and said, you can't ever drop him. He then dropped him after 1 game because he weren't good enough. He then didn't do it in the Championship when I thought he would look head and shoulders above it last season. He was quite often the first one that would drop out. Dan James and Somerville were quite often in front of him, and he's continued it this season. He's got this label because he's an Italian international. He's not a full international level player. He got brought into Italy, into the squad when Mancini was proving a point that he didn't have players at his disposal. He played for for Italy at 17 while he were at Zurich. You're not telling me he was good enough to be playing week in, week out for the Italian national side. And that's why he's back in the under-21s now. He's overrated. He's overrated. He's a good player. That doesn't mean that he's not a good player, but he is overrated.
Absolutely. And he could reach, the levels he could potentially reach.
Sure.
We just don't know. Nige with an interesting point here. Pirro scored lots of goals around the edge of the box in his Swansea days as Farke knocked it out of him trying to convert him to a 9.5/10. I don't know. It's bizarre.
We said this the other day, didn't we?
Bizarre how poor he is outside the box these days. It's just bizarre. Now, one man we not talked about from yesterday, Aaronson, is getting away with things also. His composure is a joke for a 24-year-old international. Now, yes, Aaronson had an unbelievable game against Middlesbrough. He is a point of contention at the moment. The miss yesterday, we're seeing this from Brendan every game now. It feels like he has a golden opportunity. You just feel like he is not going to put the ball in the back of the net. You would think a player that's played in the Champions League, a player that's played in the World Cup, he's an experienced international player that's played, this high level. You would like to see chances like that being buried every now and then. But I just don't think he has the technical ability, Jason. I think whatever we say about him, he does not have the technical ability to do that. But it's got other facets to his game which really help us. So
it's a mad one. He's a mad one, is Brendan, because I think his dribbling ability is really good. I think dribbling, technically with the ball at his feet, is really good. Yeah. His striking of the ball is terrible. Whether it's passing, finishing, long balls, short balls, it's terrible. He can manage a 5-yard pass when he's under no pressure, but that's it. So you kind of left, because he's like physicality in terms of strength is obviously is what it is, but in terms of his physical attributes up and down the pitch is unbelievable. So you kind of just left in this position. Like, I was thinking about it last night, and this is proper geeky of me, but if you imagine FIFA sets of stats, he would be 95 for attacking positioning, but like 30 for finishing ability and composure. Like, he's got all of the mental attributes to get him to the spot where you would want him to be, because that run was brilliant yesterday. But then he can't technically finish the chance. Like, it's crazy. Like, you put Pirro in that position, it's a goal. It's a goal. Like, every day of the week. Probably Gnonto, Solomon as well. Like, it's a goal. Even Dan James nowadays has got that about him. So,
well, Dan James is his role model, isn't he? He's someone who he needs to kind of look at Dan James and go, that's someone who probably technically, like I mentioned before, similar level, but has improved his finishing and everything, completely.
Gavin's going to make my brain explode today. He's not. I don't agree with this. I don't agree with this at all. I think his press is so effective. There isn't another player that does it like him, and that's why he's in the team. He's absolutely brilliant at it. Like, just because he runs tirelessly, it doesn't mean he's a headless chicken. People used to say that about Bamford, though, and people didn't understand what Bamford were doing when they were watching him press under Bielsa. It's not. He's not. He's very effective at what he does. He defends from the front, and it's very, very effective. But he has got some serious deficiencies on the ball. Like I say, his technical ability is poor. Browney's had enough of talking about Brendan Aaronson, apparently. We'll give him a minute to come back. Let's have a look at some comments while he does. Let's have a look at it. So Solomon did really well for the goal, Gail. I thought it was brilliant when he came on and he made the difference. For me, he has to start. No worries, mate. I just spoke about Solomon for a second while you were gone.
Yeah, Burnley 1 down. Woohoo! We'll see if that stays there. PSF, only one man was brought in to get Leeds promoted last season. He failed, and this year he's on course to fail again. Don't know if you heard the points per game chat earlier, but we're on PSF 3 points.
He's on course to actually succeed. Like, we're currently second, and Burnley are losing. So actually, you're wrong. Like this, we just have to no. Just no.
How did you think the middlemen got on then? Rothwell, Tanaka. I mean, it was kind of Rothwell losing possession that kind of kick-started their goal yesterday. I mean, those guys have been putting in some numbers and minutes for that central midfield position. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, especially Tanaka. I mean, he's everywhere. Were their levels not quite at it, do you think, Jason, yesterday, or just not the right type of game, or what did you make of it?
Yeah, I felt like the game wasn't really in the midfield a lot. I didn't feel like they did have their best game as a pair. Like, I didn't think one was, better or worse than the other, really. Rothwell tried to make things happen, tried to drive the ball between the lines as he does. I'd have liked to have seen Tanaka kind of try to dictate a little bit more, but it did feel like it wasn't that kind of game. So yeah, not the best. They weren't at the best yesterday, but no area for concern. That part of the pitch. The only concern, I guess, from that area of the pitch is the defensive stability, which we are seeing more and more of it being a problem, and why Danny Farke liked Ampadu and Gruev so much. And I'm not saying I would want to change it. I am going to miss Rothwell and Tanaka as a pair. I really like watching them play, but I do understand what we lose defensively when both of them play together.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah. Sniper, Aaronson is just a workhorse, no end product. Skip, could tell Rothwell off it, his set-piece deliveries were not as good as usual.
Yeah, they weren't good yesterday.
Effie White, we need to change up the starting lineup, getting a bit stale, predictable. Yeah, I mean, when you've got that quality in terms of the wingers, maybe so. For games like yesterday, Nigel's saying here, that's disappeared, sorry. For games like yesterday, Millwall, Blackburn, Bristol away, we need 3 in midfield. I mean, we've said that before, haven't we, Jason? We've argued that might be where they end up going. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Please do like the video, get more of your comments in as well. If you're watching along live, if you're watching this later, please do drop a comment in the box as well. And please make sure you're following us on social media as well, Twitter, X, YouTube, all that good stuff. As well. Jason, yeah, go ahead, mate. You look like you.
I can't. Gav today's on one. Again, have we not been seeing loads of rotation recently? Dan James has been out, even though he's been playing well. Gnonto came in, Solomon came in, then came out. Ramazani's obviously been injured, but he's been in and out. Like, we haven't got much that we can rotate in the midfield. Ampadu's now back, but he will come back into that. Byram has been playing at fullback and rotated in and out. Verba came in. We've seen loads of rotation. We've seen loads of different starting lineups. The only thing that's Joseph came in, rotated midweek for Pirro. The only positions that haven't rotated at all are the centre backs and the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
So I just again, Gav, I think you've just got a little bit of a Farke out complex. Like that's my take on it. Like, I don't mean that in a
bit of fear on it.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a block for you that you maybe just need to try and soften a little bit. Bear in mind where we're at. I sit here every week. Browney sits here every week, and we talk about Farke's deficiencies and his problems, his subs, and all the rest of it. And I think there were subs yesterday that were a bit of an issue. But ultimately, like, you have to back what he's doing overall, because it does work most of the time. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, you're saying that you're not Farke out, but all right, okay, right. I don't know. Okay.
Mark, great show again. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Really appreciate that. I mean, moving forward, then, Jason. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? That sort of, that I was absolutely flown there. What have we got coming up next? We're looking at Oxford next Saturday. It's at home. You never worry about home. Sheffield United, I mean,
they've just sacked the manager as well, Browney.
Yeah, just Oxford. Gone, hasn't he? Yeah. But it's a funny one, isn't it? I mean, Sheffield United, I mean, it really, I'd love to just see someone just nip it in the bud or just something. I mean, they seem to be just rolling and rolling. But for me, yesterday, I feel completely different not completely different, but I feel much more positive about it in terms of, when you look at all the stats and everything and the position we're actually in, we'll still be in second regardless, even if Burnley come back. For me, it's not too bad. Just want to raise Skip's point here as well. In the January window, what positions would you like to strengthen, and would you ideally like to replace Meslier? I would like to see Meslier replaced. I just don't think it's possible. I just don't think, unless they pull a rabbit out of the hat, I just don't think it's possible. In terms of strengthening, I mean, Jason's raised the point. I agree with you. I mean, up front, do you possibly look at something there? But I just don't know how you got 3 strong player types up there, haven't you? I'm not saying they're all banging form or anything, but to bring another one in the mix, I don't know. I mean, a number 10, I mean, I know they've been talking James McAtee and all this kind of thing, and we wait and see. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure myself. What about you, Jess?
I have a sneaky feeling that we might see Bamford leave in January. I have a sneaky feeling that we might see him go out on loan for the rest of the year, and then he might, you know, terminate at the end of the season. I just have a sneaky feeling that could happen, and if that does happen, it will open the pathway to obviously having another number 9 up there. Now, I actually think that is the most key area, but what do you then do with Pirot and Joseph? Because neither of them are going to be happy just sitting on the bench for 90 minutes. Like, at least right now, they're both getting minutes. So it's a real conundrum to deal with. I've seen a lot of calls for Buendia, very, very injury prone. You know, a lot of fans had problems with Manor Solomon coming in because of his injuries. What you're going to do with Buendia when he's just been breaking down constantly for the last 2 years. So if you weren't happy with Solomon, you can't be happy with Buendia. And I think it's a lazy link because of Daniel Farke. Now, Buendia fully fit would be insane. It'd be enough to get us over the line easily. But he actually didn't play in the out-and-out 10 role at Norwich. People just make it up that he did. He didn't. Stiepermann was the 10 and he was the right winger. A bit like Brendan Aaronson was kind of thought to going to be used. He was like the inside of the like the 3 cams, if you like, the 3 attacking midfielders. So yeah, it real interesting one. That I don't see Buendia coming. I know he's not got a lot of minutes available, but I just don't see it. Too much wages, too injury prone. I think it'd be too much of a risk. As for the keeper, that ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. It's not gonna. I'm not even gonna spend time talking about it because it's just not gonna happen. So yeah, if you're asking me to pin something, a 9 would be amazing.
Just a quick mention for this as well. Interesting that Huddersfield drew with Lincoln, so Chris and Steve will be harmonious on your channel. Yeah, tune in tomorrow night for the roundtable discussion, and we'll see how they are getting on. PSF, man, I thought I was quite a negative fan, but check this out. 5 years from now, Leeds have lost away at Forest Green in the EFL Second Division. Farke says 3 games in 7 days is too much, and they are a quality side. Oh, don't give in to that much pessimism, PSF. It won't do you any good, I'm telling you. Let's have a look. What else? Nige, get Jason Steele on loan from Brighton. Gavin, just get a striker in. And Gale, Oxford in for a thrashing. Before we wrap it up, then, Jason, final thoughts on everything.
Yeah, look, it's an away point. Take your points away from home. Win your home games, you get promoted with that. We're still on track to... I'd take 93 points now. You know, that's what we're on track for. Yeah. I think we'll push further on in the new year. Players coming back from injuries. The squad can only get better. But I do think we need to start seeing a little bit of something different away from home. I can totally subscribe to the fans that are saying that. I think that's a fair assessment. All, I forget who Burnley are playing now, but all opposition, aren't we? Yeah, so,
and also, look, that theory, the weekend kickoffs that are not 3 p.m, we're struggling. If you look at it, we're struggling now. That's something we've got to get a handle of. And you know, the new EFL deal with Sky, obviously that impacts it. It's, you know, crazy kickoff times all the way through the season. So we're going to get plenty more. And like you said, we've got to do something different. Well, thank you everyone for watching Nige's great content, guys. Thank you very much, Nige. Really appreciate that. Please, if you've not done already, if you could just like the video, it really does help us out on the channel. We'll be back tomorrow night in some way, shape or form for the West Yorkshire Football Show's Monday roundtable with all the guys on as well. Myself and Jason will be back for another match review. We're still going to be sorting his calendars out and seeing what we can and can't cover. But please do check that out. Follow us on all socials as well. We're on Twitter or X, YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed and all that good stuff, because it's going to be strap yourself in for the rest of the season. It's not going to be plain sailing. When was it ever so for Leeds United? But really appreciate you tuning in, getting all your comments in as well. If you're watching again later, please do let us know what you've thought on today's show and everything we've discussed as well. But we will let you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I've been Sim Brown. With me as ever has been Jason Booker. Jason, thank you very much, mate.
Thank you, mate.
And we will see you again soon. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
You too.